Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome into the Sports Arena on a Monday night. Yes, I'm your man, Eric Wilson, and I've got my guys with me here tonight. Like I said, you definitely wanted to tune in for the first 10 minutes of this show because I got a lot to get off my chest with regards to two particular topics. But I've got two of my guys here with me, my co host, the sports reporter without pay, Ray Lynn, is in the building. And of course, the ASU Sun Devil alum, Pitchfork Lunch, my man, 18 years long and still going strong, Mike Carrots and Noodles in the building. Gentlemen, good evening. I would normally extend pleasantries, but I'm just in a foul mood for a number of reasons. The first one I want to get to off rip tonight is this simply here. You got three guys in Frank Wright, Josh McCown, and Deuce Staley who were all fired today by the Carolina Panthers after having a 1-9 record. But you know what bothers me more than anything? How the hell does this guy still have a damn job? I just do not understand it. You mean to tell me that when you give a new head coach or a head coach coming into bringing his system to a new team, a veteran quarterback turned quarterbacks coach, offensive coordinator, and in my opinion, a great running back in his prime who has transitioned to the coaching to bring up the next generation, they are given an opportunity. But because they are unable to perform at a level or an expectation, not even a full season, they all get fired. Meanwhile, Brandon Staley has Justin Herbert, Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. Do I need to go on with the defensive side? Hell, we saw one of the Bosa brothers up in the luxury box last night eating Raisin Bran because he injured. But yet the Chargers are still with Brandon Staley as their head coach. Someone please make sense of this for me because I just don't get it.
I'm with you. I get a little bit. I've said it for weeks. I mean, Brandon Staley after last year. The only thing is, Eric. I mean, he saved his job for the year. Because think about it. They canned their OC and they brought in Kellen Moore, and he had to let people go. So that was kind of his thing for, you know. I'm not saying he bust, those coaches, but ownership wanted to change, and obviously they wanted to stick with Staley. The thing that's done with Frank Reich, and I mean, who wants to? I mean, we talk about Houston being terrible, but I mean, guys, look at this. I mean, it's been talked about all day, but when I saw it this morning, when I saw it before everything started getting talked about, like David Tepper just loves to fire people. I mean, if the reports are true, it's kind of like the Brian Flores Miami deal. I mean, not the whole dump games, but he wanted Justin Herbert not to, and it just kind of what started souring things with ownership. David Tepper just loves to fire people. I mean, Eric, on a side note, he owns and Ray probably knows this, he owns the team there, the USL team in Charlotte, and they've had been around this was their second or third full season, either way, but he's fired two coaches second season, two coaches in 2 years. Like,
Okay, but listen,
are you
I
kidding me?
understand.
No, but I'm just saying, like, if you're not going to give Frank Reich time, that's my point. Like, he wants to fire people if it's still the whole Frank Reich, didn't want Bryce Young, he wanted C.J. Stroud. That offensive line is terrible. Like, you traded up to the number one pick, but you had a very high pick anyway because your team's terrible. So for Brandon Staley, he bought himself another full year, and considering their record. Like, yeah, does he get defensive in interviews because reporters are going after him? Like, what are you doing? But he bought himself a year by bringing in somebody new. But yeah, if the Chargers don't make a playoffs, I think Brandon Staley's the next. But yeah, Frank Reich,
But
Staley,
I
and
don't
Josh
get it,
McCown
Mike,
got
because
screwed.
listen, hold on. I understand what you're saying to me, and I get it. In the era that we live in, where it is truly a "what have you done for me lately" mentality, Frank Wright, Josh McCown, Deuce Staley didn't even get an opportunity. I mean, I hate to say this,
Right,
but this is worse than black head coaches in the NFL not getting a shot.
right. No,
It's like you got to come in immediately and have an instant impact in a division that is just god awful. The only reason the NFC South was relevant in 2020 and 2021 was because of Tom Brady. Let's call it what it is. That's the only reason that division was relevant. Okay? And listen, I like Baker Mayfield. Mike, you and I met the guy. Nice
right.
guy, has a great personality about him. I'm sure he's a hard-nosed player. You've got a Mike Evans and a Chris Godwin. You've got Todd Bowles in that defense. So Tampa should be the odds-on favorite. But hell, Arthur Smith and Atlanta are right there. And the New Orleans Saints with Derek Carr, I don't know if he's playing, if he's not playing, but they still got Cam Jordan in that defense. But I just don't understand how Frank Reich was not given a
Right.
fair shake. Okay? You brought him in thinking he was going to fix the things. Well, give the brother time to fix it.
Well, all I'll say before Ray goes is, Eric, I 100% agree with you. But you guys remember the old adage, right, Ray? He or she who has the money makes the rules. And if Frank Reich was a little too, I don't know, pissy, standoffish, whatever you want to say with Tepper, and not even so much just about Bryce Young, but just about the state of the team that he inherited anyway. Like, you hired him because you thought he could turn it around. You know what work he's done with quarterbacks. Your offensive line, a phrase I hate to use, Eric, but is absolute garbage. I mean, they're getting this kid killed, and all of a sudden it's those three's fault. Like, how are you supposed to coordinate an offense? But like I said, I'm with you, man. He who has the money makes the rules. And who's going to want to go work for Tepper, Ray? That's my question to you.
So I want to make sure I understand what the question is. Are we more upset that Reich and his staff got fired because they fired
Yes.
Staley and McCown as well? Or are we more upset that Brandon Staley still has a job? Like, which one is the actual?
So I'm more upset. If you're asking me which I'm more upset about, I'm more upset that Brandon Staley still has a job. That's what I'm more upset about.
But why though? Like, okay, so
I'm upset because LA Chargers, with their record, should be, and I know, just because you look good on paper does not mean that you are what your record says you are, or who you are, who people expect you or think you to be. I get that. But I just cannot wrap my head around the fact that this guy, who has made, in timely manners, has made just piss poor decisions from a head coaching standpoint, which have ultimately costed the Los Angeles Chargers wins.
Right.
I put the blame on the head coach. I don't put it on the quarterback. I don't put it on the defense. I put it on Brandon Staley, because any other head coach, in my opinion, from what I have seen, would have made the necessary adjustments to achieve victory. Okay? Justin Herbert and at the quarterback is taking the calls from Brandon Staley, from whoever's making that call. At the end of the day, this man has a proverbial playoff team and has yet to see the second round of the playoffs with Justin Herbert, who we all can agree, he's not a Patrick Mahomes. He's not a Josh Allen. He's not a Jalen Hurts, but he is in that next level. Okay. And I know how Ray likes to put it. Patrick Mahomes is up here. That's level one. Okay. Level two is the Joe Burrows, the Josh Allens, the Lamar Jacksons, the Jalen Hurts of the world. So then I'm going to say Justin Herbert is in that third level with the Tuas and Deshaun Watson before he got injured and others. The Los Angeles Chargers should be in contention right now. And right now they're sniffing maybe to get the 6 or 7 seat, if that at all.
Okay, so they're usually. Let me start with Carolina, right? They won 4 games last year? 4 or 5 games last year?
Something like that.
Something like that. And then you get the number 1 pick.
Yes.
And you bring in a coach and you expect them to build on whatever was, right? Then a lot of times, I think when a team isn't winning games, right, you're looking for other things, right? Well, are they playing hard? Does the coach have their ear? Does this look like we can build something from this? And I believe in the situation with Carolina, they looked and said, this isn't going anywhere, right? Like, let's cut our losses right now and start looking to next year, right? They're I don't think they expected to be 1-10 in the division they're in, right? Y'all know my favorite stat when I look at the standings is plus minus.
That's right.
They're minus 119.
Yep.
Right? It's them in Arizona. They're atrocious, right? Again, back to my favorite stat. The Chargers are 4-7, but they're plus 11 on the season, right? Now, We're not making excuses for the Chargers. I'm simply saying, and they talked about this last night. I think they've lost like 7 or their last 8 losses have all been one possession games, right? So we go historically, Staley has had a history of making some questionable calls when it comes to situational and clock management and things of that nature. But if we look at some of these games that they lost this year, right? It's 2 scapegoats in football, the coach and the quarterback. Like those are the 2 guys that when it go, like when you hear about the Patriots, all the great players that went through there, what you hear about? You hear about Brady and you hear about Belichick. With Kansas City, you hear about Mahomes and you hear about Andy Reid, right? Like it's the coach and the quarterback. When the Rams won, it was Stafford and McVay. Like that's just how it goes in football, right? So everybody's gonna point the finger at Staley because we've been sick of him for 2 years now, right?
Yes.
But I love me some Justin Herbert. But let's talk about it. They're playing against the Dallas Cowboys. They're down 3 points. They have the ball. Herbert has the ball in his hands, down 3 points with the opportunity to go win the game. Do they win that game? No. What happened against the Packers? They lost that game 23-20. Herbert had the ball in his hands with an opportunity to win the game, and he didn't. What just happened on Sunday Night Football against the Ravens? The final score say 20-10, but they were down 1 possession. The Ravens wound up scoring on a play they weren't trying to score, right?
Right.
They were down 13-10, and Justin Herbert had the ball with an opportunity to go win or tie the game, and he couldn't get it done. This is now a thing, right? Shout out if you're watching right now. Shout out if you go watch it back. My guy, Augustus McMullen, right? Me and Gus talk about Justin, like this is an ongoing conversation with us. He can't stand Justin Herbert, right? He always brings to my attention when Justin Herbert had the opportunity to do something special and didn't. I remember you remember the game last year where he got hurt and he came back in and everybody was raving about how tough he was.
Yep.
But they lost that game. They lost that game. He came back in and threw this great pass and we was like, man, he's tough. But I just want you to think about it, right? When was Justin Herbert's moment? Like when is a game where Justin Herbert did something that made you go, wow, right? If I'm thinking Tua, I think about the comeback against the Ravens where they dropped like 20 in the 4th, right? 20 or whatever they did in the 4th to come back and win that game.
The shootout against the Chargers that happened earlier this season is another example of Tua.
Right.
Yeah, but I think Justin Herbert, but to your point, Ray, I 100% agree with you. And I understand. And even though, yes, Eric knows I'm a Herbert homer because draft wise, I'm like, man, if I'm Miami, I take him right there. But I think his rookie year with how he got thrown into it, and every week, even though they didn't have the offensive line, I mean, they had him. They didn't have some of the pieces on the offensive line that they do now. His rookie year, I mean, every week, I'm not saying the numbers were, I mean, and his numbers got better. I mean, he opened up against the Chiefs, and they weren't ready for him. And I mean, was that game close because they really didn't scout Herbert? Yeah, probably. But his rookie year, you saw the growth. And then Brandon Staley is supposed to be this defensive guy. He comes in, you're going to shore up the defense. You draft a left tackle. You have a guy, to Eric's point, like an Austin Eckler. You have a basketball team that we've talked about at wide receivers. I mean, with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, and then you bring in the kid from TCU this year. But his rookie year, though, to answer your question, is like you saw the growth, and then you see the throws that like he can make, and then you see all the 4th downs that they go for. And when they don't get it, people are like, oh, well, you know, Staley got it. It's it's a good call, this and that. But people are still pissed because you're going for it in your own territory, shortening the field. And for the Chargers to be in these games, to answer your question, though, that's got to be the frustrating part where, yes, Herbert does need to take him over the top. But you do have a head coach, I see to Eric's point, that's almost crippling you because you're giving a team, if you don't get that 4th down, you're giving the team the ball on like the plus 35.
Right. But so a couple of things. I don't even know how we backtracked all the way to his rookie year. Like he's a 4-year vet now. All the guys in his draft classes is doing great things now, right? Like we see what Tua is doing. Burrow's been to a Super Bowl, right? Like so, like to just go. I don't know how we get back to his rookie year and talk about the progress, right? But right here, right now, when you go, well, his coach is putting him in a situation, you got to go for it on 4th. Well, his coach wouldn't be in that position if he got the job done in the first 3 downs. I'm saying, like, mind you, I'm a Herbert fan. Like, I'm the guy that has said in the past couple of years, it's Mahomes in the class by itself. And then the rest of those guys, to me, is all lumped in together. Josh Allen and Burrow have had a little more success, but I put Herbert in the class with those guys.
Right. No, you have. I know.
I'm not a Herbert hater.
You gotta get it done. And I think defenses just tee off on it. Defenses totally tee off on it.
You said Staley supposed to be this defensive guy, right? Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, you held them to 13 points.
Right.
The final score say 20.
Well, 20.
When you had the ball in the fourth quarter,
right,
they had 13.
Right.
They've done their job. Your defense has now put you in a position to win. The game against Green Bay, in this high-scoring, pass it all around the field era, Green Bay only had 23 points. That means you score 24 and you win. The game against Dallas, they held your Cowboys to 20.
20, yeah.
Defense did their job, right? Like, it's a lot of games that you go, and again, if you look at the shootout against Miami, right? They lost that game 36-34.
Right. And they had the lead in the fourth quarter, right?
Listen, with 1:45 left, when Miami scored, they was up 34-30. Miami goes down and score. 1:45, you down 2. You just need to get in the field goal range.
That's it.
And
I understand that. So really quick, before we go to our next topic, I just got to ask y'all how you feel about this comment right here, and do you or do you not agree with it? Saying that he's the new age Phillip Rivers. Playing for the same team.
Look, Phillip, when people say that, I get it. We're talking Super Bowl success. We're talking championships, and whether you're going through the Patriots or like I said, obviously the Steelers won Super Bowls in there. The Ravens won a Super Bowl in there as well. But obviously the Patriots in the AFC, Phillip Rivers won a lot of games. Yes, and he didn't. He threw on timely picks, but Eric, that's one thing we didn't talk about Phillip Rivers. He wasn't launching, interceptions. He did take care of the ball.
So does Herbert.
I know, that's what I'm saying. He won a lot.
Right now,
calling him the new Phillip Rivers. People would say, yeah, they didn't win a Super Bowl. They got to divisionals a few times, and they didn't get the Chargers with Rivers. Did not get over the hump, whether it was beating the Patriots or whoever. They had their way with the Colts at times in the playoffs. Phillip Rivers did in the AFC. If you go through that, so no, look, I'm with Ray. I don't view it like Phillip Rivers is that. Yes, when we're talking about just winning Super Bowls, there's
I'm not talking about just winning Super Bowls.
No, but I'm saying people say that about Phillip Rivers.
Okay, that's what other people are saying. What I'm saying to you is the Los Angeles Chargers should be a team that when we look at preseason predictions, we need to be putting them in the conversation of they are going to be the number 5 seed.
Well, look who Khalil Mack's playing. How he's playing, it's ridiculous.
I'll say this much about that comment, right? It's a lot of similarities starting off with the uniform, right? Like he's playing for the same team. So It's easy to make that correlation to go, oh, he's the new Chargers quarterback that's going to do the same thing as the last Chargers quarterback. When you think about it, you go, well, what did Phillip Rivers have at his disposal? I don't know. One of the best running backs in the game, Damian Thomason, a dual threat guy that could rush for 1,000, maybe catch for 800. I don't know. Something like Austin Eckler. You know what I mean? What did Phillip Rivers have? One of the best pass catchers in the game with his tight end, Antonio Gates. Well, what does he have? Well, he has Keenan Allen and Mike. Like, you have these high-powered offenses. You have these quarterbacks who can sling it all over the yard. And you have these quarterbacks who, as great as they are going to be looked at as the next tier under the greats, right? Like, Phillip Rivers played his entire career in an era with Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. Those were the standards. And then you had Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers, right? Like, and a lot of people would put Aaron Rodgers from a talent perspective in the conversation with those first 2 guys, right? So Phillip Rivers he was never like a top 2, top 3 guy. He was always in that somewhere between 4 to 8 range as far as it's at. He was, Matt Stafford-ish, right? That's Justin Herbert right now. He's not Mahomes. He's not Jalen Hurts, right? Like, it's not a crazy thing to say. I personally believe from a talent perspective, Justin Herbert has all the tools. He can make every throw. He can make every read. But at some point, we do have to acknowledge, and this is hard for me because I've got right on this camera, and I've caped for Justin Herbert. At some point, we have to acknowledge he doesn't get it done. Like, he just doesn't get it done in crunch time. There's no, He can make every throw until 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, right? I watched last night, and it's like, okay, they have a chance, and he just didn't do it, right? I mean, he just didn't do it on numerous occasions this year.
On that fumble too, Ray. And again, he didn't do it. I'm not making an excuse, but I mean, it is the Ravens defense on that fumble that they were in the backfield like that. He planted his back foot and he's trying to step up and the ball's fumbled. Yes, does he need to secure the ball 100%? But I mean, I know that's one game, and what you're saying over like what he's done, I don't disagree. I'm just thinking to Eric's point, a lot of times, like when you're behind in these games, or if your defense is playing the way it is, yeah, you feel you go for a fourth down. Why not try and make a team drive the whole field against? I mean, we saw what Khalil Mack did week 1 against the Raiders.
Mike, when people say, Eric, let us stay here for a second. I know you're ready to move on, but when I can use either one of y'all teams. I can use my team, right? My team hasn't been successful over the past 20 years or so, right? So it's hard for people to look at what we're doing now and believe it, right? Like, it's just like they just don't want to believe it. No matter how good we play, people are going to find an excuse to say it's not. Same thing. People hate the Cowboys so much. They're watching what y'all doing to people. And what are they going to say? Oh, well, they ain't beating nobody. Y'all beating the teams that's on the field against y'all, right? What are people the Eagles? Oh, they're the luckiest team. I know you've heard this. They're the luckiest team in the NFL. The refs did this for them, and they got gift wrapped. And this guy didn't play well this game. Yeah, bro, we 10-1 right now, right?
Yep.
Sometimes we have to believe what we're seeing in front of our eyes.
Right.
There are 4 or 5 instances this season where Justin Herbert had the ball with 2 or 3 minutes left in the game and the opportunity to go ahead, and it didn't happen on any of those occasions. Not against Dallas, not against Baltimore, not against Miami, not against the Chiefs. Like, at some point, just call it what it is, right? And that's what, going all the way back to the root of this question, that's why I think Staley hasn't been fired yet. It's hard to really pin everything on the coach when they're in every single game. When you're losing one possession games, it's like, okay, the coach going to draw up the plan. Y'all got to go out there and execute. The coach put them in a position to win against my Lions. Defense went out there and gave it up. He put him in a position against Baltimore. And I don't think Staley's a great coach, by the way.
No, I get it. I get what you're saying. I understand, but that's why I wanted to bring this to the table. But my next topic, and Ray, as usual, you understand how I work because we segued right into it. What I was going to say was, you talk about a quarterback who can play for 3 3/4 of a game, but in the last 5 minutes don't show up. Let's flip it to the team that is 10-1, where for 3/4 of a game, I don't know what Jalen Hurts is doing, but I tell you what, in the fourth quarter, that brother show up. Now, this one, y'all already know I'm an Eagle fan. I'm not going to go off like I would. This is not going to be a rant. I'm going to save that for a later time because we're only 11 games in. But here's what I will say. I am sick and tired of Eagle fans talking about, oh, this team ain't the 10-1 that they a lucky team. Everything that Ray said. They're a lucky team. Refs did this. This person did this. I'm sorry. You know what we did? We won. We got the W. Okay? People want to call it, excuse the expression, because I've heard it all time. So I guess I should put the disclaimer out so that everybody knows some things tonight that are going to be said may not be PC. So before we get into it, let me just go on and drop it for y'all.
This program contains graphic material, including offensive language. Viewer discretion is advised.
I got something real heavy to lay on you, man.
Now that's what I need.
Please feel free to join us in the smoking section because we with all the smoke.
For God's sake, strap yourselves down.
Okay, now that I got that out the way, people are calling Philadelphia wins shitty wins. That's what they're calling them. I'm saying no, reword. Take the S and the 2 T's out and put the P and the 2 L's in there because we ain't even got 2 L's. We only got 1 this year, albeit it is to the Jets. But we're 10-1, okay? We ain't got to be pretty. We ain't got to be classy. We ain't got to throw the ball over the damn field. And the finesse just ain't there. But guess what? No one in the NFL can say they have 10 wins except for my Philadelphia Eagles. So for all the haters, which I expect, especially all them fans down in Dallas, Michael Caratanudo included, and everybody else who likes to hate on Philadelphia, I'm going to use my sports reporter without pays line. This is what I want y'all to do. Keep that same energy for me because you know what? At the end of the day, I'm rolling with the team that I've been rolling with since 1976. Got a tattoo on my arm, and I'll be damned if I'm gonna let somebody, be it a fan or not a fan, try to say that, oh, they're the luckiest team, they're this and they're that. Guess what? We winning. Okay. I have always said this. I said it last season. I said it the season before that. The only thing I ask of Philadelphia is two things: be consistent and beat the Cowboys. And guess what? We're consistent. I don't care how we get the dub. I don't care that the 3.5 hour game that I watch stresses me out to where my blood pressure is 175 over 200. I don't care. I don't care that I have to sit there and wonder, why is Jalen continually running to the right, and defenses know if we push him to the right, he can't make a pass. I know that if Lane Johnson ain't in the game, damn it, we got a true shot of losing the game because he is one of the best right tackles in the game. I know that Jason Kelce yesterday makes a small inch flinch, and all of a sudden we get a penalty. I understand all that. But you know what? I have now watched my team, who is 10-1, go up against the Dallas Cowboys of the world and win. Go up against Tyreek Hill, Tua Tagovailoa, and the Miami Dolphins and win. Go into Kansas City and beat the Kansas City Chiefs. And then yesterday in the rain with a little bit of snow mixed in. And yes, I am the new president of the Jake Elliott fan club. If you don't know who he is, you're damn sure better Google him. Because from 59 yards out with rain, wind, and everything else in this face, my man put it through the uprights to give us an opportunity to continually move forward. So for all the talk and all the hate that wants to come, because I tell you, I'll take all the smoke when it comes to the Eagles. I'll take it all. Because what no one can say to me right now is my team is better than the Eagles. No, it ain't, because we're 10-1. And to all the Eagle fans out there who want to continually doubt what we are doing and how we are getting them W's, do me a favor. Keep yourself on the bench, because that's where you belong, number one. Number two, and more importantly, don't come try talking to me about, oh, the team should be doing this. No, because we doing what we need to be doing, and that's winning.
And you have, and I take offense to the hater part. I did make a comment about the horse collar yesterday because it was a legit horse collar on the intentional ground, and you want to call offsetting penalties, fine. But I have said about the Eagles all year long, when one of our guys, John, say, "Oh, they don't look the same." If they can run the ball, I've said all year, Eric, who cares? Ray's witnessed me say it. It's on. You have it on all the shows. Who cares if they're running the ball and winning? Good for them. Yeah, Jalen Hurts, his knee's banged up. Everybody seems to know that. But if you can run the ball and you can win, and you have those receivers that can make plays, I mean, cool. They need to make plays when they need to make plays. Run the damn ball. If a team can't stop it, why you don't? Just because all the rules, like we say, are set for passing, throw it all around the field. You don't have to throw it all around the field. You can just shove it down the team's throat, march down the field, score touchdowns. Sooner or later, there's going to be too many guys up, and he's going to be dumping passes to open people. So I've been very fair and defensive of your team, especially when John has said things or other people. I from a journalistic standpoint, yes. From a fan standpoint, yes. I send you vomit pictures, emojis all the time because I want to vomit because of how they're winning. But yeah, yesterday's win just shows it. I mean, we're talking about defenses making stops, and both those defenses were throwing punches yesterday. I mean, I loved watching that game. I mean, of course, from the fan side, I would have loved more if Buffalo would have won. But I look at it, and Buffalo's defense in that overtime drive, did nothing. I mean, they show when I saw the replay, I'm like, man, that's like 4 or 5 straight plays where they're just throwing to the boundary and the receivers open and they're marching down the field. Like Buffalo's defense, just I don't know what you're sitting back waiting for. It was mind-boggling to me. But the Eagles, to your point, as they've done all year, whether Swift, after, like you said, after the second game, this young man running the ball, who's ever running the ball for them. Yes, he's had a phenomenal year to this point, in my opinion, what he's meant to that offense. But yeah, when you have a beast, when you have a man-child outside in A.J. Brown, and then even Devontae Smith, it doesn't even look like this dude's running full speed. Every time I see him, even back at Alabama, I'm like, how is he behind people? He does not look like but he's moving, and we know it. You have the offense to do it. Yes, with Lane Johnson out, that's even a bigger win to piggyback off your point. That is huge. But when Jordan Mailata comes out and says, like, I just can't believe we were getting the reads that we were from their defense on that last drive. And then when Hurts took it in, like, they're like, they were just in utter shock. But Mailata was in utter shock. And hearing him after the game, I was like, that's pretty funny coming from an offensive lineman. Like, I mean, they didn't really mix anything up, but your team made the plays. They've done it all year. So, yes, so the doubters and people say, oh, Hurts doesn't look the same. Yeah, I don't care if he's not throwing for 400 yards a game or 350 a game. Run the ball down teams' throats. If they can't stop it, why would you? You don't need to pass a damn ball. And your defense obviously can take care of it. Is Buffalo going to score points? Is Josh Allen like that? So for the people, yeah. And anytime to hammer on your fans, lastly, I'll leave it on this. Booing your team going into halftime, like the people in the stadium, I mean, really, yeah, they need to get on the bench.
I mean, first off, they booed Santa Claus. Like, this isn't like, they don't care. Man, listen, I get it. I get the idea of, hey, we're winning, right? That's the fan and Eric and most Philadelphia fans should feel. I think the reality is, like, we've talked about this since about week 3 or 4, right? We were saying then 5, 6, 7 weeks ago about the Philadelphia Eagles, and we were saying the same thing about the Chiefs at the time. Like, they're winning games, and we don't think we've seen them play their best yet. We were saying that in week 4 and 5. And then it's like, man, when they really put it all together, watch out. And it feels like we've yet to see that, right? We've yet to see Philly win in the dominant fashion that I think we come accustomed to last year, right? Like, where when Philly walked on the field, they just flat out looked like the better team on both sides of the ball. And I think they probably right now are still the second most complete team in football in terms of no weaknesses, in terms of being able to run the ball, being able to pass the ball, being really good in the trenches on both sides of the ball. They have a good secondary. They have good weapons on offense, and they have a great quarterback. And they have good coaching. Like, Philly has it all. The only team I think that's more complete, and it's not a more complete in terms of the lack of holes, it's where those positions are. I just think San Francisco's better, right? At the skill, like, they just have more talent. They have the ultimate X factor in Christian McCaffrey, and then their weapons on the outside with Kittle, Ayuk, and Debo. I think those weapons trump what Philly has, but they're both really complete teams. So when you watch San Francisco play and they're just blowing teams off the field, you expect to see the same thing from Philly. And I think that's where the banter comes in from media and fans, where it's like, well, what's wrong with Philly? When you look, and New England's awful, and they beat New England 25-20. And they beat Minnesota by 1 possession. And they beat Washington by 3 in overtime. And then they played Washington again and beat them by 7. And they beat Dallas by 5. Dallas is a good team. And then Buffalo. The last 3 games, Dallas, Buffalo, and Kansas City, those are really good teams. And they won by 5, 4, and 3, right? So when you look at Philly's schedule, or you look at Philly's wins, and they got like 7 wins by less than 5 points, right? So the same way, we were talking about the Chargers and them having all these 3 and 4 and 5 point losses, people who expect the Eagles to be this dominant force, right? To just go out there and punch people in the mouth like the Ravens are doing, like the Cowboys are doing. They haven't seen that from Philly. And as a fan, I would be okay with, well, we win it. But when you were giving your opening monologue about this topic, Eric, and you said, well, Ray, you just talked about a quarterback who does it for 3 quarters and doesn't show up in the 4th. You said, well, let's flip it. I don't know what Hurts does for the first 3, but in that 4th, in my mind, I was thinking, I'm gonna ask Eric, does that make you nervous, right? As a fan, like, because
yes,
that can't work forever, right? Like, you can't.
I know it.
You can't go dig a hole against San Francisco.
You absolutely right. At some point, Ray, it is going to come back and bite us in the ass. I know that. Because I've seen it. I've lived it. I've seen it. But what I'm saying to you is, what bothers me more than anything is the fact that, and I'm gonna take the players away from this for a moment. This right now, I am saying to you as a fan and as someone who has watched, and I watch my games just the same way you watch your Lions games and Mike watches the Cowboys games, same way John watches his Miami games. Okay, I pay attention to what is happening on the field, and I am continually questioning why you are making the reads that you are making. When if you just go through your progressions or just trust in your team a little bit more, you can get stuff done. But at the end of the day, what I will always sit back and say is, okay, This is why they are 10-1. Because I know in those key moments, in those clutch moments, Jalen will do what he needs to do to get it done. Will a defense at some point outsmart him or have the edge over him? Of course they will. It's the NFL. I'm not expecting, listen, I'm going to be the first one to tell you, I'm not expecting perfection. Okay? What I'm expecting is a championship. That's it. That's it. That is me. Okay. Yes. Mike will tell you, because I told Mike when we played Dallas a couple weeks ago, I didn't sit down for one moment. I stood and paced in my house the entire game because it was Dallas, because I knew Dallas was coming in. I knew they had a huge chip on their shoulder and they wanted this game. It's a division rivalry game. Okay. There are the New York Football Giants, there are the Washington Commanders, and then there's Eagles Cowboys. Okay. When I watched that Chiefs game, we were doing the show and I'm watching the Chiefs game. Buffalo's game yesterday, down 10 points. And I'm saying to myself, watch what happens. And in my mind, I'm saying, I know the fan in me just comes out when I watch. But when I go back and I look at this, I say to myself, you are absolutely right, Ray. At some point, someone is going to not only take the lead, but maintain the lead. But until that happens, and even after it happens, I'm rolling with this team because you know what? If we have to not be the pass-happy 450, 500-yard team, but we can run the ball down your throat like they used to do, hey, I'm good with it. I'd much rather run over somebody than rely on the passing game. But I know the passing game is secure when I got A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Olamide Zaccheaus, and then if you want to, throw a quick screen to Gainwell, Scott, or even Swift.
Don't forget Dallas Goedert when he's back.
But I don't think it's so much as like this idea. Mike kind of went that route with where they're not passing the ball all over the yard, right? I want to see something real quick.
But I mean, they don't.
Philadelphia is 13th. Okay, now I was just looking. I just wanted to see where they were at. They're 13th in passing yards, right? But again, Eric, back to again, what I think a lot of the media and the fans, right? They're looking at the 10-1, right? If I'm a Chargers fan, I say, hey man, we could easily be 7-7, right? If you're an Eagles hater, or if you're an Eagles I can't get the word out right. Protagonist, right? Like if you just want to kind of poke holes at it and go, okay, but it could, right? You look at the last 3 games, right? Like I said, which were against really good teams. With 27 seconds left in the game, Dallas has the ball 1st and 10 at the Philadelphia 11, right? Yeah. That's a losable game. That's if I'm a Cowboys fan and you say, you're going to have the ball with 27 seconds left on Philadelphia's 11-yard line with 27 seconds left down by 5. I'll take it every day of the week. Right? Like I'm in a position to win that game.
Right.
What happened in Kansas City? Valdez-Scantling 1 yard a game. Like we saw it. We all saw it. Some people threw stuff at the TV. You probably jumped for joy, Eric, right? Like, and then last night, as you said, right? It took a 59-yard field goal in the very improbable. Just none of it. Like I was updating the football pool, and I circled Buffalo as winning. When he was trotting out on the field, I was like, "Well, Buffalo won," and then he made it right. Like so. Again, I think that's where that comes from. Where you go, man. Last year, when Minnesota was doing this, we was all saying, they can't keep doing this, right? And that's what Philly's doing. They're winning a lot. They're winning every close game, right? Every game that, like, again, 3 games in a row that they could have lost, right? A game of inches, right? Like, even the field goal was like, oh, right? The missed pass by Valdez-Scantling. I think Dallas had a penalty. Then they got sacked. Everything just went wrong when they got to the team.
Well, and then the overturned touchdown where the tight end where they challenged it, and he was just barely outside he didn't cross the pylon. He was an inch away.
And then Dak stepped out.
Dak stepped out on the
game of inches, right? Two good teams. Again, man, now shout out to Philly. If you go as a Philly fan, you go, we got to play Dallas, Kansas City, and Buffalo back to back to back.
And now we got San Fran next week and then Dallas again.
Right. So you go, but just those three, you can only go what's happened so far. You go, man, if we can go 2-1 in those, I'll be satisfied. You went 3-0.
Listen,
right?
in our stretch, yes, no, you absolutely right. But in our stretch right now, when it was Kansas City, Buffalo, San Fran, Dallas, I said we have to come away 2-2. Because Detroit,
you already passed that, and you already passed that.
Right. I got my 2. So
and then we lost to Green Bay. You're welcome. So like,
which I'm not happy about, right? But we ain't gonna talk about that.
Yeah. Not now. It ain't just Detroit on y'all, because look who got their swag back. San Francisco out here punching people in the mouth again, and y'all got to
see them. And listen,
right?
We'll see them on Sunday. They tried them. NBC actually tried to take this game from Fox because it's America's game of the week. NBC wanted to make it Sunday Night Football, and Fox was like, no. This is our game. We're keeping
Fox already
tuning into that.
Fox had it protected, so they couldn't because there's games like
I mean,
right.
Listen,
but Ray, I want to say
real quick. As much as I love my team, and as much as Mike loves his team, we have to acknowledge that when Philadelphia steps on that field with San Francisco, we talking about the two best teams in the NFC. Right? Could we beat them on any given Sunday? Yeah.
Yes.
Could Dallas beat them on any given Sunday? Yes.
Yes.
But those are our two best teams in the NFC.
And we're going to see what happens Sunday at 4:25.
I just want to wrap up with the protagonists, like you're saying with Philly, and you know, you said all those close games. Well, you're down by double digits twice. So the people, to your point, to support your point even more, Ray, that are saying, oh, the Eagles, like, yeah, and no one, obviously talent wise, they have a little more than Minnesota did last year. But you're down by double digits and you come back and win. And yes, the Valdez-Scantling drop, the plays that Eric and we just talked about with Dallas, like they're right there. But you're double digits down to Buffalo and Kansas City. Whether Buffalo's struggling or not, we know talent-wise, like they're right there. You come back from 10 points twice. Like, I just think detractors, as much like I said, from a fan side, I want to trash them. But when you're looking at it, like you say, journalistically, like they come back from double digits to beat them. That's like deflating to a lot of other teams. Now, yeah, players are going to sit there and roll out and play the game. You're not going to let them defeat you before you step on the field. Like you said, the Lions, the Cowboys, they step out on the field with them. Yeah, I mean, you're going to compete, and even the 49ers as well, too. But, I mean, you see that stretch and double-digit down, and it's like, well, no lead is safe. It's like the detractors don't want to talk about that. But, yes, it is crazy to win like that.
I'll say this about your team, Eric. I was watching a video recently, man, and Kobe Bryant was talking about going into arenas and people booing him and it making him comfortable, right? And then he used this phrase. He said, he was told by one of the great players, they don't boo nobodies. You know what I mean? They boo you because you're great and it's the expectations. And that's kind of what it is with Philly, right? It's kind of like you're great and people expect greatness. You know what I mean? Like, that's really what it is. Like, they expect the Philadelphia Eagles to be, they came off the Super Bowl last year, and for all intents and purposes, if you just look at the record book, man, look, they 10-1. What else you want? They got the best record in the NFL, just like they did last year, right? They just beat 3 of the best teams in the NFL back to back to back. What more do you want? And people are like, no, we want to see you be dominant.
I'm gonna tell you something. I'm gonna go one further, and then we're gonna move to our next topic. You talking about what someone said to Kobe Bryant. I'm gonna tell you what I learned in church in Sunday school. If people are talking about you, you must be doing something right. Facts. That's I'm just gonna leave it right there. Facts. Okay. And let's get on to our next topic.
Somebody tell this man.
I know
we don't talk about people who are leading their division with a losing record. This is gonna be like I think it happened 2 years actually, where the NFC South winner had a losing record. Yeah, it's gonna be like that again. It's gonna be like that.
Same thing with the Rams. Quite a few years back, they had a losing record and they were in the playoffs.
All right. Sam Bradford. Let's get to our next topic. I needed to get those off my chest. Thank you very much. Let's talk about dark horses. If you had to pick a team right now that you said was going to be a dark horse to make the playoffs, Ray, who do you think it would be right now? We're 3/4 of the way. They got 6 games left.
We're talking about the NFL, right?
NFL, yes, sir.
2, 3, 7 teams make it, right?
7 teams from each conference. Yep.
4, 5. I'm going to do a Mike Caratanudo and say, I'm going to say a second team from the AFC South. Meaning, I'm expecting the Jaguars to win that division. Mike, oddly enough, that was the first team I thought about was the Broncos, right? Because they're kind of slowly putting it together. And it's weird. Same thing. They're winning games, and it still doesn't look like what you would expect it to look like with Russell Wilson under Sean Payton's offense. But I would not, I'm telling you, Houston. I watched them Sunday, and I realized, wow, Stroud's still a rookie. Like, there were a lot of moments where you went, up, there it is. He's a rookie, right? But for the majority of the season, man, he's just been lights out, and they're somewhere nobody expected them to be. And then you look at the standings and you go, man, them or the Colts could actually make the playoffs. And that's what I'm going with, man. One of those two. I think Jacksonville is going to kind of walk away with the division, right? So then you have all 4 division leaders. I think Buffalo and Miami get in out of the AFC East. I think, man, it's going to be tough, though. I think Cincinnati's done with Burrow out. The Ravens are in. At some point, we have to just talk about how great Mike Tomlin is.
Why are you stealing my stuff?
Because this team not supposed to be 7-4, man. Like,
stuff,
but listen, they're not even a surprise. They're 7-4 right now.
Okay,
like,
but
if the playoffs started today, they're in, right?
And they fired their OC finally.
In that division, with Baltimore playing the way that they are playing, which, by the way, I have to pull the clip of our Super Bowl predictions, because I am on record saying my Super Bowl prediction is Philadelphia versus Baltimore. So I'm gonna pull that record up so that y'all can see that is what I said. But that is my dark horse.
So
because Cleveland with Myles Garrett and that defense, I think, is going to be the reason why. But I think that Mike Tomlin is going to get his Steelers back into the playoffs. Right now, they are a 20%. They have a 20% chance of getting the number 5 seed, a 22% chance of getting the number 6 seed, and a 16% chance of getting the number 7 seed. Data by ESPN Analytics.
They only one loss behind the Ravens. It's crazy.
I know.
Like,
Mike, who is your dark horse?
Yeah, when you posed this question, I mean, I didn't really like to with their win yesterday, did not take the Steelers as a dark horse. I do look, what the Indianapolis defense is doing, they're doing what they did 2 years ago and 3 years ago when Phillip Rivers came for that year. That defense looked nasty, and they're getting back to that.
Phillip Rivers twice in the show. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry, I'm just saying it's true, but no, I mean, when I look at the AFC standings and I see, you know, the Colts in the 7 seed, the Browns in the 6, and then the Steelers in the 5, if Dorian Thompson-Robinson, I'm not saying he was a world burner and it has, you know, no Pac-12 bias, Eric, but like that loss yesterday was tough. The Browns defense, I will stand on this ship, Eric. Their defense is going to keep them in every game.
Right.
Like Myles Garrett was banged up a little bit. And yes, the Russell Wilson made some runs yesterday, and to Ray's point, like it's not so looking the same, but yes, the Broncos, I mean, rushed for more yards and a half than they rushed for more yards and a half than anybody else had done on the Browns all season. And they did run the ball on them. So yes, that it is one game. It is, like you say, Eric, that we say the NFL. But I mean, to me, the Broncos would be the team because, again, yes, they've won 5 in a row now, just like Philly has. The Broncos would be my wild card in the
AFC.
AFC, and then in the NFC, though, I mean, as crazy as this sounds, because I think Seattle's on the downward swing. And I think their defense keeping it, their offense just, I mean, it doesn't look as smooth this year with Geno. And yes, there's more tape out there, and I'm not blaming Geno. I'm not saying he's terrible. I'm just saying, but as crazy as it is, the Packers are my dark horse. And no, it's not an overreaction from beating the Lions. I just think you're sitting at 5-6. To Ray's point, more so it's an overreaction to his point earlier when we were talking about the Chargers. Like, they had that chance in Lambeau to win that game. The Packers somehow held on. If they can get both running backs healthy, like, that will help Jordan Love a lot. That would be like the wild card pick for me.
I mean, right now, Seattle, according to the analytics, Seattle has a 14% chance of getting the 6 seed and 19% chance of getting the 7 seed. The Rams have an 11% chance of getting the number 6 seed and a 20% chance of getting the 7 seed. And then the Green Bay Packers, 17% chance of getting the 6 seed and a 22% chance of getting the number 7 seed.
So that was my dark horse in the NFC was the Rams. They started the season off. Cooper Kupp was injured. Stafford went out for a little bit, and then you just kind of forget about them, right? They weren't very good last year. A lot of changes on the team, but that's still one of the most talented teams in football. Did y'all see did you see what the running back did yesterday?
Oh, well, it's the second time he did it to the Cardinals. I saw it. Yeah.
I mean, he had he had over 200 yards from scrimmage, didn't he?
Yeah.
Something close to that. Like he went crazy.
Yeah.
So I like the Rams, but and again, in that you have a team at 5-6 leading their division. Right now in the NFC, 5-6, you're not out of it. You one game out of the 5 seed, right? Like or the 6 seed. I will say Minnesota is hanging on in there for a playoff spot. I'm gonna keep bringing that up.
They're up 10-9 right now.
Yeah, and that game just has me all kinds of confused. Like 10-9, come on now. Y'all should be dog walking the Chicago Bears.
Well, our boy Montez Sweat, happy he got his 4-year extension because he looks like a Bears defender. Is all I'm gonna say.
I'm just saying, man. I expected. I will say this. I expected more from Minnesota in this game tonight, but unfortunately, not the case. Fine.
You can't blame First Cousins no more. We know that. You can't blame First
Cousins. I'm not. I'm not blaming First Cousins. I'm just saying. I expected more from Josh Dobbs. I did.
Yeah, Ray. He had 204 from scrimmage yesterday, and 143 rushing, and then 61 receiving.
He went crazy.
Yeah, and he did that to him in the second half when they played earlier in the season too. And I mean, Kyler Murray looked good on the first series and the last series, but even though he looks like he's getting more comfortable. I think the Cardinals are. I know it's off subject and it's not one of our topics. I think the Cardinals are going to stick with them, but yeah, I could see the Rams. They got a shot. They definitely got a shot to make the run because I think the Cowboys are going to do the Rams a favor and beat up on Seattle on Thursday.
I'm very surprised looking at the standings. I'm very surprised that we didn't talk about the Tennessee Titans at 4-7 because
they're 4-0 on the road or at home and 0-7 on the road.
Okay. But what I'm saying is, the Texans could slide, the Colts could slide, and if Tennessee would actually find a way to get out of their own way.
Well, they got to win on the road.
Okay.
Well, man, like this not the AFC. This is not the AFC. Sitting at you sitting at 4-7 right now. You sitting 2.5 games out of contention. You have 2 teams in your division with the Colts and Houston
Texans
both sitting at 6-5, and you're at 4-7, right? Then that you still have Cleveland sitting over there. You still have Denver making a push. You still have Buffalo sitting at 6-6. Like it's almost like they too far out of it right now.
True. No, you're right. You're right. I'm looking, and I'm very curious. Now, look in the NFC. I mean, listen, it's going to be Philly, Detroit, and I'll say Atlanta, and then San Fran. But then you got Dallas, which is going to be the 5 seed. But then after that, it's like, Minnesota's at 6-5, Seattle's at 6-5, Rams are at 5-6, Saints are at 5-6, Green Bay is at 5. It's like it's so crazy how the NFC is truly so just different than the AFC. So, fellas, I had so much more to talk about. Let me just ask y'all this question before we get out of here tonight, and it's really short. Do you think Bill Belichick is done in New England after this season? Yes or no?
I mean, record-wise, I want to say yes. I don't think any coach or any player wants to go out like that. I mean, I know when they say for a player, it's different, Eric, like Father Time's undefeated, as we all know. But I think, it might be time for something new. I know the rumors started, going to Washington. And, I mean,
I heard he was going out to L.A. to replace Brandon Staley.
Washington and L.A. I mean, look, he's been a career and he's been an NFL lifer. I mean, does he still want to coach? I mean, I'm not saying that he's not putting in effort right now, but I think either way it's over in New England. I think it's time for probably something some fresh blood in there, because I don't think Robert Kraft is enjoying,
2-9,
two straight 2-9, and then it'll be 2 straight seasons with no playoffs.
Ray, what do you think?
I think he's there as long as he wants to be. And that's not to give a Mike Caratenuto on the fence answer. I don't think he'll be pushed or forced out. Like, I don't think Bill Belichick can get fired. He's like, some people build up, invincibility or build up this cachet where it's like, oh man, that guy won a championship. You got no, that's Bill Belichick. He won 6. Is it 6 or 7? Brady got 7 or 8. Brady has 8, right?
Brady has 7. Belichick has 6.
Okay, so if Brady has 7, then Belichick has 6, right? Like, that just doesn't happen.
Well, and as an assistant, he's got 2 more. So
okay,
yeah. So I think as long as he wants to be there, like, he doesn't get forced out. There are some people, he's untouchable. Greg Popovich is untouchable, right? Like, you just don't, I will say this. Somebody said, John said this. Shout out to John. John said he's a horrible GM, but he's a great coach.
Yeah.
I think it was John that said it, or maybe Mike said it, right? He needs to get out of that role. He needs to get out of that GM role. But other than that, man, like, as long as Belichick wants to be there, he'll be there because he's Bill Belichick.
Okay, fair enough.
And Eric, to piggyback off what Ray just said, they're going to have a high enough draft pick. They can get one of those quarterbacks too. So if you want to restart, but to have hopefully a true offensive coordinator, like if Bill O'Brien stays, like a true offensive coordinator with one of those young quarterbacks.
But I know we didn't think we was going to come on this show today and just not even mention this. I know y'all didn't think we just wasn't going to mention it at all. I don't know. We thought we just wasn't going to say nothing about this.
I mean,
we
never do. But yeah, I've been talking about them being eliminated all day. I'm happy. Ohio State is. It was beautiful. It was great. I loved it.
He's been smiling. I knew Mike was smiling for a couple of reasons. I figured with Thanksgiving,
ASU got hammered. ASU got hammered by that school down south, and hats off to them. They had a hell of a year. Since Oregon won on Friday and beat Oregon State, the Pac-12 championship was already set between Washington and Oregon. But yes, on watching that Ohio State Michigan game on Saturday, it was so great. It was just so great to see them. The only tough team. I mean, look, Notre Dame had a good year. I'm not taking anything away. As much as I hate Ohio State. Well, both you guys know how much I hate Ohio State, but. Look, Penn State's offense, Eric, I love I've never had anything against your team. If they can't run the ball, it's like a Pop Warner offense.
I know.
They are dominating in the
keep next topic, Mike. We ain't
I know. I'm just saying, but they give this is what kills me. And they crush Michigan, and then you try and say that, the schedule and the eye test. You're trying to tell me all season long, even before Jordan Travis got hurt for Florida State, Ray, even before he had that terrible injury. Like, if you look at Ohio State and Florida State, quarterback better, Florida State, offense, weapons, everything matches up. Defense, they're both nasty. So you're going to tell me that Ohio State is that much better than Florida State. And now Florida State's quarterback goes down. Washington had another, again, ranked win over Oregon State. They go up. But I think that Ohio State has no business in the playoff anyway.
Listen, this is why I have to take the fan out, right? I'm a Michigan guy, right? Like, you have to, the resume just is what it is. They had 2 top 10 wins. Whatever you think about those teams, if you beat 2 teams in the top 10, it got to mean something. I just know, I recall a time when Donald Trump was the president. Lil Nas X had a hit blazing called Old Town Road. Frozen was in theaters. John Morant was a rookie. Lamar Jackson was winning MVP. Joe Burrow was winning Heisman. All this stuff was gas for 2011 cent. This is all what was going on the last time Ohio State beat us. That's how long it's been since Ohio State beat Michigan. You know what I mean? I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Love it. No, man, I'm glad you brought it up. I was waiting for you to bring it up. I thought you'd be all excited, but I'm like I said, I just staying aside. I mean, it's not the quarterback play. If CJ Stroud's sitting there again this year, it's a different story. But no, I'm interested to see the rankings tomorrow, because I said today that if somehow the college football playoff, the show's tomorrow.
Okay.
And then they have the final show. The final show will be next like we'll see
after
who's
the
on
championship
Sunday.
game.
Yeah, it'll be on Sunday. Because the Pac-12 is Friday, and then the Big Ten, the Big 12, the SEC, and the ACC are all on Saturday, the championship game. So, like I said, if somehow I said this, which is I couldn't even say it with a straight face earlier, Ray. I'm like, well, if Iowa beats Michigan, then the Big Ten probably might not have anybody in because of what people are saying about their schedules. I go, if Iowa beats Michigan, I'm going to go do the Iditarod in Alaska. Because that is, I mean, look, Iowa's. It might. I said it like this, right? Having stuck it out for two Iowa games this year, their defense is going to be tough to score on. It'll probably take Michigan, and if it's faster, then I'll be happy to be wrong. But I said this on my show today. I'll be happy to be wrong. But once Michigan figures it out, they're going to kill Iowa. I mean, it could be like 59-7, in my opinion.
Eric, I would also like to say, I'm not going to curse on this show. I've been doing better with my language. But to hell with you, Eric. I'll say that much. For what your Philadelphia 76ers did to my Lakers tonight, didn't like it at all, sir. Just thought you should know that. Didn't like it. Don't like you. Don't like your Sixers. Don't like Joel Embiid's hair. I don't like Tyrese Maxey. I don't like the way he wears socks. I don't like Tobias Harris' first name. Who calls himself Tobias? I don't like nothing about him. Patrick Beverly's a chump. I don't like your team at all. just thought I was just
in response to that, Ray, I will say the Detroit Lions are the only team that I actually fear in the entire NFL. I look forward to seeing you, sir, in the playoffs at some point, hopefully in the NFC Championship game, just so you and I can go back to where we started our first initial meet and greet, if you will, arguing about something that we both passionately feel strongly about. As far as the San Francisco 49ers go, to the shout out to the big guard, he been running, doing his own tirade media. Congratulations to him. Say what, say it again. He's got his production thing. But big guard, don't think that should your San Francisco 49ers be unsuccessful this Sunday, yeah, I'm going to pull up in Fayetteville because you need to show up on this show. And then the following week, on December 11th, which will be the Monday after the rematch in Jerry World on Sunday Night Football, Mike Carrot-Sanudo, my brother of 18 years, please, I know you don't go running, but Mike, I would like to make a bet with you. You have a defensive guy who has had multiple pick sixes.
NFL record, Deron Bland.
NFL record.
5.
NFL record. I would like to bet you Michael Carrot-Sanudo 1 Portillo's chocolate cake shake.
Ooh, okay.
That he does not get one against Philadelphia.
Well, that's right, because Hurts is going to be too scared to throw towards him.
Okay, well, we shall see for all intents and purposes. But if he does not, his last name is Bland, is that correct?
Deron Bland. So he has to have a pick six, not just an interception.
No, he has to have it. No, he has to have a pick six. Is that not what he has had this so far?
Oh, he's got 5. He's got as many touchdowns as Travis Kelce.
Right. So that's what I'm saying to you. If Deron Bland, is that his name?
Yeah, Deron Bland.
I want to make sure I say it properly.
Yeah, you got it.
If Deron Bland should be ever so lucky to acquire a pick six against my Philadelphia Eagles Sunday night, December 10th in Jerry World, I will buy you a chocolate cake shake. However, if that does not happen, I will have my very first chocolate cake shake courtesy of my man Mike Carrot-Sanudo. And I will leave it by simply saying this. Ladies and gentlemen, that does it for us here on the Sports Arena on a Monday night, every night, 10 p.m. Eastern. Y'all already know how it is. For the Sports Reporter Without Pay, my man Ray Lynn, and my brother of 18 years, Pitchfork Lunch, ASU. He's a Sun Devil, Jerry, and all over everything Arizona State University, because that other team down south ain't worth a damn. I'll say it for you, Mike. It's okay. We will see y'all next Monday night, where it is December. So you know what that means. It's crunch time. It's gut check time. It is for the NFL. It is you better show up or else your ass fitting to be out. And with that, so are we. God bless. Peace.